And after learning her funeral may not take place for months, Ewan Hope today begs Donald Trump and Theresa May to force Russia to hand over her killers. He believes the timing of the U.S. president's 4-day visit to Britain could prompt an international effort to bring her poisoners to justice. Trump will fly to Helsinki to meet Vladimir Putin tomorrow as police carry out tests on a bottle believed to contain a nerve agent that killed Dawn, 44, and left boyfriend Charlie Rowley, 45, critically ill in hospital. Ewan, 19, said, "I don't share Donald Trump's politics and I'll never be a supporter of his, but I would like him to raise Mum's case with the Russian president. We need to get justice for my mum. I'm so angry with her killers." And his message to Theresa May is she needs to join the president in tracking down the culprits behind the June 30 poisoning in Amesbury, Wilts. "I hope the government can find out exactly who did this. I really want them to get what they deserve," said Ewan. "The way I feel right now, I don't think they deserve to live after what they did to Mum. It's unforgivable that someone like her can be taken like this." Dawn died in hospital last Sunday, 8 days after being poisoned by the same nerve agent used in the attempted murder of Russian spy Sergei Skripal, 67, and daughter Yulia, 33, in nearby Salisbury in March. Ewan told of the shattering moment he found out he had lost his mum, who he thought was recovering. "My aunt rang me from hospital and told me Mum had passed away 20 minutes earlier," he said. "She said she had been with her holding her hand when she died and that her heart slowed down and just gave in. I felt absolutely devastated and started crying. I just couldn't believe it. There had been no warning whatsoever. I actually thought Mum was getting a little bit better and might have a chance of surviving." Ewan, one of Dawn's 3 children, including siblings Aidan, 22, and Grace, 11, is now being supported by their large and close family. "After that phone call, the whole family started gathering together at my nan and granddad's house," said Ewan. "My aunt arrived later, and we all cried and just looked after each other while we watched the news. The police came round the next day and told us her body is now the property of the Crown. I really want to get the funeral over and done with as quickly as possible now, but we were told it could be weeks or even months before we can get Mum back. I need to speak to my nan and granddad about it, but I'd like to scatter her ashes in the soil next to a tree so it will grow and we can have somewhere to go and see Mum and remember her. Because her death was so public, we're hoping for a very private funeral service with just close family." Dawn's boyfriend Charlie Rowley, 45, last night remained ill in hospital 2 weeks after collapsing at his home in Amesbury. But his condition has improved since he regained consciousness on Tuesday and he has been able to talk to police. Read more top stories from Mirror Online. Ewan said, "I was over the moon when I found out Charlie was conscious again. I wish him all the best, and I'm so glad he's awake and doing well. I just feel sorry he's lost Mum, but I'm glad his family won't have to go through what my family are facing at the minute. I'll go see him when he gets out of hospital." Forensic investigators are still retracing Dawn and Charlie's movements on the day they fell ill. Drones have scoured land where they may have come into contact with the substance. Ewan says he realizes the enormous task police face as they search for clues to the killing of his mum, who lived in a homeless hostel in Salisbury. He said they've never had to deal with something like this before, especially not in Wiltshire, and they've done the very best they can. And the people at the hospital, the doctors and the nurses, have done everything possible. It was reported my nan was unhappy with them, but it wasn't true at all. She's happy with what they did and has told them so. They couldn't have done any more. Ewan last week told the Sunday Mirror how he visited his mum in Salisbury District Hospital days before she died. He had to wear long protective gloves to above the elbow so he could hold her hand. She had suffered a massive heart attack and stopped breathing for 30 minutes before paramedics revived her. But grieving Ewan has not yet been able to summon up the strength to see her body. He said, "At the moment it feels like it would be too much to deal with. I want to remember her as she was, but I will go to see her. I've been speaking to Mum in my thoughts since she passed and wishing I could see her again one last time. I wish I could tell her how much I've always loved her. She was the best mum in the world, and despite her problems I would never have swapped her for anyone else." He added, "She's missed by everyone who knew her. She was the most caring, generous person. She would give anyone anything to help them, and the outpouring of support has been amazing. So many people have been visiting, paying their respects, and Nan and Grandad's living room is full of cards and flowers. It's nice to know that Mum was so loved. I hope she knew it." After finding traces of Novichok in a small bottle found at Mr. Rowley's home, Scotland Yard yesterday said further searches in areas linked to the Skripal's attack and the latest poisonings could take months as officers look to identify any other sites or sources of contamination. About 400 items have been recovered so far, the officer said yesterday. Earlier in the day, 4 vehicles were removed from a police garage in Swindon and a Salisbury ambulance depot. Assistant Commissioner Neil Basu said it is not an exaggeration to say that the search process linked with both this and the Salisbury investigation has been one of the most complex and difficult that UK policing has ever faced. The work being carried out is extremely important. Not only are we trying to solve an extremely serious crime that has been committed, but we're also working to identify any potential outstanding risks to the public, all while ensuring those involved in the search process are not themselves exposed to any risk of contamination.